So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence get into a back and forth, and Terence Crawford tells Errol Spence that I'm going to smoke you. I am going to smoke you. Terence Crawford is taking out all his frustration on Errol Spence, and Errol Spence, I think his sister and Errol Spence Terence Crawford's sister and Errol Spence had a back and forth, and Errol Spence seems like a very relaxed guy, calm guy, and Terence Crawford seems like a guy that likes to bite. He likes to come at you, but I think it's a situation where Errol Spence knows he's the one that's in a strong position. He's a unified champ. He's got all the fighters in the welterweight roster on his side of the table, so he's probably going to get the Pacquiao fight. Where Crawford knows he's left singled out, not getting the fights that he wants to. A bit frustrated from the way he's reacting. I think he seems a bit frustrated, seems a bit angry with the whole situation. And we hope Terence Crawford can get the big fights, because that's a fight that I think would be a great fight, because I think there's a lot of needle there now as well. I think there's a lot of needle. I'm not saying that they hate each other, because actually I don't think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence hate each other. I think they have a lot of respect for each other, and I actually think they're probably friends. But I think because of the fact it's becoming such a big rivalry, I think they're both starting to get a little bitter towards one another. And it's getting to the point where I think they're starting to become a lot of needles. So I actually think if the fight was to be made, I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Even though I think, because Terence Crawford isn't a guy that is going to start anything. But for me, Errol Spence, he says a lot of things that can get under your skin. He can be aggressive, and I think Terence Crawford's not the one where if someone says something, he's not going to stay quiet. He's going to bite back. So I think this will be one where it'll catch fire slowly, but it'll catch fire, because I think Errol Spence will probably say something and Terence Crawford will bite back, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, I think they'll both be going back and forth at one another. So this is why I think with this fight, I think the build-up would be great, and I actually think it would do good for Terence Crawford's image. It would do good for Terence Crawford's popularity. I think he'd become more famous, which there's always been a kind of concern about him, that he's not that popular, he's not that known. I think this type of fight could definitely help his popularity, him being known more, and etc. Because I do think he probably needs to get out there a little bit more. And a lot of people, let's be honest, only the hardcore fans really know who Terence Crawford is. If you walk on the street, even in the UK, nobody really knows Terence Crawford. In America, probably not either. His social media numbers aren't very high. But this is what I mean. These type of fights will help, because Terence Crawford hasn't had those marquee fights where it's a super fight, it's a massive pay-per-view fight. He hasn't really had those fights. So hopefully, when Terence Crawford starts getting those big marquee pay-per-view fights, he'll become a bigger name. He'll become a bigger draw. People will get to know him a lot more. So you would probably say his biggest fight to date was against Amir Khan. And Amir Khan's name no longer held the weight that it once used to, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. So the fight wasn't deemed as that big, because people didn't really see the fight as competitive. They didn't think that Amir Khan would win that fight. If it was 8-10 years ago, the reason why it would have been a great fight, because people would have actually thought Amir Khan can win. And they would have thought it would have been a 50-50 matchup. Malinaji said this. He goes, 8 years ago, Amir Khan and Crawford would have been a 50-50 matchup, and it would have been good to see who would have come out on top on that fight, because Amir Khan was such a good boxer, and it would have been very tough for Crawford as well. But Malinaji said before the fight that it wasn't prime Khan. But taking Khan out of it, I think we want to see Errol Spence and Crawford fight. We want to see the fight. It's between two guys in their prime. It's two guys at their peak. It's two guys that are great fighters, and two guys we want to see fight. We want to see these two fight. So really they need to make it. Hopefully they can make it this year. I'm not holding my breath. But hopefully they can make it this year. But the problem is I don't see Errol Spence that interested, in the sense that I think he would prefer to fight Pacquiao first and fight the guys in around his roster, and then fight Crawford. But let's see. Errol Spence doesn't seem like a guy. I think he seems like a guy that would fight anyone. So I do think that this isn't going to be a case where this is going to be marinated too long. I do think that we may get this fight this year. It wouldn't shock me, but It could take, maybe it could. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets made next year. It seems more likely. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts, guys. Remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.